I was the president before I graduated. I was taking on a lot of things. So I didn't necessarily get to petroleum because it was my dream course. Some people might even see it as a disadvantage. I'm unable to cram like a lot of things. I can't cram.
This is Precious Okon, the overall best graduating student of Nile University with a CGPA of 5.0. Now, the big question is, how was she able to make it through the university without getting a single B in any of her courses, even as a fellowship president?
There's a way you can explain things simplistically and anyone can get. So being able to explore overall, my actual driving force is...
Welcome to the Nigerian Student Podcast. In this episode, you'll learn how to understand any course.
There were still some courses that were a bit difficult. Some topics are very broad, so you need to understand the exact area he's focusing on.
How to balance academic excellence with leadership responsibility.
Most of my challenges were kind of self-inflicted. It took a lot from me, so I had a lot of things to balance at the same time.
Simple tips to boost your academics.
Trying to make lecturers look stupid. Lecturers have feelings. The lecturer notices you. It's like, this person cannot fail. And it's not even
a candid advice that might surprise you.
You can't just throw people away just because you want to be ambitious and everything, or just because you're ambitious.
And now, before we dive into the podcast, so that you bless us with your wonderful insights and experiences, please permit me to call you Precious 5.0 for the sake of this podcast. I beg.
Okay, if that works for you. But Precious is just fine.
Now, Precious 5.0 is really wonderful to have you here. Now, we all know that graduating with a perfect CGPA of 5.0, no be beans. We don't see it every day. So now, can you take us back to the moment when you realized that this was going to be your result? And how did you feel at that moment or that period of time?
I mean, I was extremely excited. Well, I mean, no one exactly told me because, I mean, we had access to our transcript, so you'd already know that, I mean, you were going to be the one and everything. So it was very thrilling. And one thing I felt the most was just gratitude. Gratitude to God for his faithfulness. Because, like, it's not normal. It's not something you see every day, right? So I was just very grateful.
All right. Thank you so much for that. But on your convocation day, when you were announced as the overall best graduating student, at that point in time, how did you feel?
I mean, it was actually very thrilling. I was like, oh my goodness, in front of all these people, like, they're actually going to see me walk a stage to receive an award for being the overall best graduating student with a 5.0 CGPA in petroleum and gas engineering. It was just different. I was grateful. I was proud. Of course, good pride.
Definitely.
I was like,
I know, I understand.
Oh my goodness, like everything actually paid off. I was so grateful to God. Like I don't have enough words to quantify what it felt like because it was just different.
Now, you said everything actually paid off, and we would love to know the things that paid off in this podcast. So, achieving such academic excellence often comes with a lot of challenges. Yes. Now, what were some of the challenges you faced during your educational journey, and how did you overcome them? We are here to learn from you.
All right. Most of my challenges were kind of self-inflicted because I'm a volunteer. Like, I just enjoy helping people as much as I can. So I was involved in a lot of societies, lots of extracurricular activities. So once they reach out, oh, they want to do something, I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, I can help, you know? And it took a lot from me. So I had a lot of things to balance at the same time. And yeah, it was a lot, but then that led me to then grow in my time management journey because I had to improve in that regard so that I could balance everything. But then, of course, there were still some courses that were a bit difficult. And for those ones, I had to reach out to my lecturers. I spoke with my friends, you know, because that was one thing that helped as well. That humility to recognize that yes, I might be having the 5.0, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to be like alone and feel like if I don't know it, then no one else knows it. So I was able to reach out to my friends, people that maybe
Exactly.
understood concepts better, and that's just it, that teamwork. Having people, community really helps. Yeah. So
There's something I got from your word now. How is it possible that Precious 5.0, there were some concepts that she couldn't understand? Ha! Which means there are also people that understood more, but
yeah,
you actually had to, you laid down yourself just to learn and gain from them. That
yeah,
is a powerful, concept about humility. It actually helps us as individuals because sometimes we might feel like I've been making this 5.0, 5.0, 5.0. How will I just come and tell this guy to teach me this concept? More, it's not possible. Let me go to YouTube and learn it. Or let me not come and disgrace myself here.
yeah.
But for you to humble yourself, knowing all the things you've achieved already, all the compiling 5.0s, it's really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
This is something I really need to learn for myself because sometimes in school, I feel like there are some courses that I don't understand, some topics that I don't fully understand when the lecturer is teaching it, or I didn't fully understand it. But sometimes I feel like, how will I meet this guy that understood this topic so that he will explain it to me? Because I don't know how to say this, but sometimes I feel like they will think or they will perceive that, or let me just use the word think. They will think that this guy know to sabi book as with the thing saying sabi. So this is something I really need to learn, and thank you so much for that.
Just to talk on that, can I just to talk on that a bit, like, it's just important to realize that there's always something to learn from anyone around you. So like, if you just put yourself in that bubble, you really not grow. So that's one thing I observed over time, and it really just influenced how I live my life in general.
Now, beyond the well-known advice of study hard, pray more, be focused, and be disciplined. We've all been hearing this: study more. You need to study, 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 and you need to pray as if it all depends on praying, and you need to be focused so that you do well academically, and you need to discipline yourself. What other qualities or strategies do you believe contributed significantly to this your academic success? I believe there is something that that many students don't know that helped you. That helped you. That gave you this advantage. Yeah, I believe that's the word, advantage, to achieve this great feat in your academics.
All right. So there are a number of things I want to talk about in this area. So there's actually something I would call studying. Strategic studying.
All right.
Like, everyone says study more, but it's one thing to study. It's one thing to study strategically. Like, when the information comes, like when your lecturer teaches, try to ensure that you understand what it is he's trying to teach, like the topic he's talking about, because some topics are very broad. So you need to understand the exact area he's focusing on so that when you're going back to study, that is what you are going to study and more. But then aside that, there's also learning, like learning to appreciate the concept of learning, like appreciate knowledge. Being able to appreciate knowledge, I think that also helps. So I moved from studying just to pass my exams to studying to, like, because I really wanted to know. And that happened primarily like after my undergraduate internship. Of course, I had already been entering into that, but then that commitment became stronger after my undergraduate internship. I worked for a company that just made me like see that learning was not just something I should do to pass exams. So I was no longer just studying because I wanted to pass exams. I was studying because I really wanted to know those concepts. And that then led me to read more, read well, read wide, and make sure I understood that particular thing from first principle. Understanding from first principle changes everything because you can always reproduce it from scratch. rather than you just trying to pour word for
Exactly.
word. For most of my, like, some people might even see it as a disadvantage. I'm unable to cram like a lot of things. I can't cram. It's always funny when people say, "Oh, if you could pass school, then you should be able to cram." But I can't really cram. I need to understand it, break it down, break it down, break it down. And when you identify this about yourself, it influences how you go about the things you do. Another thing that I know that helped me in school was relationships. Relationships. Don't be the person that is always making a mess in class, trying to make lecturers look stupid. Lecturers have feelings, you know. So if you're early to class, you sit in front, all those things, they play a role. They actually play a role. I'm not saying you can't pass if you sit at the back. But when you participate in class, the lecturer notices you. It's like this person cannot fail. And it's not even, some people may say whatever they want to say, but this person, like, you have established something, right? Your commitment to the class, you're asking questions that are leading the lecturer to actually talk about some more things that maybe they even forgot to talk about. Those are class participation points. So your building is people could talk about depositing in people's emotional bank accounts. That's something. That's something else that happens, right? That's something else that helps in that regard. And I mean, you said people say pray more and all, but as a Christian, I cannot underestimate the power of prayer. I can never underestimate it because it carried me. It carried me. Many people also had this problem where they kept their reading till exam periods, and that did not help anybody. So the grading system is divided into like the mid semesters and then the finals. So that cross curricular assessment, right? It's about 40%. It was 40% in my school, and then 60% for the exams. So that 40% includes attendance. Attendance was already like maybe 10%. Though later on, I think attendance didn't have any marks anymore. But imagine attendance having 10%. So just by coming to class, you've already achieved a part of the grade. Then you have your mid semesters. People didn't take mid semesters seriously. People didn't take quizzes and assignments seriously. But handing those things in on time, they would, and of course doing them properly, they would add to your marks. And those are free marks you can just get quickly before you now even go into exam period.
Which compounds.
So by exams, you're probably only running for maybe 35 or 40 over 60. Of course, I never aim for that, but like at that point, you're not struggling because you're trying to earn all the 60, but because you already have 40 or 30 something already stacked for you. So A is 70 in most universities. So you just need, if you're at 35, you only need like 35 over 60 to add to that iron 70, and that's it, right? So there was just that planning in the whole thing. So take everything seriously. Take everything seriously. I think that's it from me in that regard.
Taking everything seriously, it's another whole world of its own, because there are some students that do take everything seriously, but they don't get the results. So I believe that when you say taking everything seriously, they need to take everything seriously in the right direction. And when I say pray more, I do not underestimate the power of praying more, because I am a testament that it works. I am a living testimony, or a working testimony, if that is a word, that it works. Because I can remember there are some exams that I wrote, but I'm not so confident of what I wrote. But when the results came out, I was like, God, now so you take it on your own. So it's very, very good that that this phrase that we use in school. I don't know if you guys use it in your school. Study as if it all depends on studying, and pray as if it all depends on praying.
Yeah.
When you were delivering your powerful speech, a question dropped on my mind. How do you know that you've understood the concept?
How do you know you've understood the concept? When you can explain it easily to anybody, like you can break it down for any other person. There's a popular quote, I think people say it's by Isaac Newton, but I'm not sure if he's the one that said it. But they say that you don't fully understand the concept until you can explain it to a 5-year-old, right? So that material science, you say you know, that reservoir engineering, that
From Albert
engineering
Einstein.
maths, you say you know. Can you explain it to someone that is 5 years old? Thank you. Yes, Albert Einstein. Can you explain it to someone that they will actually be able to grasp what you're saying, at least the basics of it? And that's it. I don't believe in just throwing jargons around because I find it pretty lazy. Of course, you can't escape using jargons in things that you do, but there's a way you can explain things simplistically and anyone can get. So being able to explain those things and people that maybe are not even in your field can understand it, then I think you've gotten a good grasp of the concept.
Now, you worked in your fellowship, probably as an executive, Abi.
Yeah, I was the president before I graduated.
Wow, president. And that comes with a whole lot of responsibilities. Now, balancing schoolwork and that responsibility and also your interest in other extracurricular activities. Can you share your strategies for achieving this balance effectively? How did you do it? That's what I mean. That's what we're saying.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So when I was speaking earlier, I mentioned that I had to cultivate the skill of time management. And it was something that really came to play because I was taking on a lot of things, right? So now it's even more established. I currently have a very tight schedule and all, but in school, I didn't create like a calendar to like place things and everything. I made use of my reminders. So my reminders would pop up telling me, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to do that. I set out things. I had a schedule. That time it was just on paper, but now it's digitalized. I get to do it on my phone and everything. So I would always create a schedule, what my days would look like. Okay, I'll do this here, I'll do that there. And okay, this event is coming up. Like set times for meetings. And another thing I did over time was delegation. And yeah, delegation. With delegation, I was able to offload myself of some responsibilities. And that helped me focus when I needed to focus. And planning, I've talked about time management, but planning in general, when you're someone that plans, you're able to, like, it really just helps. So you start doing things early so that you're not just chasing things at the last minute. So that was something else that helped, that planning. So if you know when things are going to happen, you know when exams are close, you know when you have classes. So you plan around those things, plan your meetings, plan your events so that you could have every single one done as it should be done and you'll be fine. So that was it.
Oh, more. This requires a whole lot of self-discipline and what other qualities would I use? But majorly self-discipline to bring out your phone. Now, to bring out your phone to pen down and record everything in your to-do lists. Okay, yeah, you said you don't use phone, so you use your pen and paper to record everything because it takes, yeah, self-discipline to calm down, bring out your book, start writing the things you need to do today. And this is a quality that has helped a whole lot of persons. Yes, because for you to bring out the time to record your activities, it will help you to plan your day and help you to be more organized and know what you should be doing and at a particular point in time. Thank you so much. You see why I call you Precious 5.0? You see, not be everybody feel do this kind of way they do. Thank you so much for that. After a quick break, Precious 5.0 will tell us and reveal to us the secret behind her motivation. Now, let me put it this way: how she generates her motivation. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Hello, family. Welcome to the first episode of the Nigerian Student Podcast, a weekly student podcast where we talk about how to be a better student, best in your academics, and how to prepare yourself for the future. Join us as we discuss and learn from true scholars every Saturday at 10 a.m. on YouTube or Spotify. I'm Maxwell and I'll be your host. Let's continue with our wonderful conversation with Precious 5.0. Now, there is something I have been discovering, to be able to learn and to be motivated, they are two different things. I might want to learn, but I'm not motivated. And sometimes I'm motivated, but I don't know how to learn. And so these two things are the strong keys to academic success. I believe so. So I would love to know, we Nigerian students, we would love to know what are the things that motivates you to keep learning and studying, even after all the 5.0s you've been achieving. What is that thing that is always pushing you to study and keep learning? Because most of us students now, the truth is sometimes you don't have the motivation to, we set a goal, we want to get 5.0, we want to get 5 A's, 9 A's, but we don't have that motivation to keep pushing, sorry. So what is that thing that always keeps you going?
Okay. So personally, I just want to be excellent in everything that I do. And being excellent requires me to distinguish myself, right? So that means I need to know what I need to know. I need to know my onions. God has made me excellent, so I need to be excellent because He's excellent. So that propels me to keep improving on myself to show forth His glory in everything that I do. And like I mentioned earlier, right, I've moved past the place of just learning because I wanted to pass exams and everything. I really just want to know things. I want to know why things are the way they are. I want, like, for the concepts I'm interested in. It's not like I know every single thing in the world,
Oh,
right?
okay.
But for the things I'm interested in, I want to understand why they are the way they are. I want to know them from first principle. I want to be able to talk about them with conviction, right? I mean, of course, you can talk about the job market, and everything. And of course, if you want to distinguish yourself in the job market, considering how competitive it is, you need to know your things properly. So I think that's
Exactly.
another thing that just propels me to keep upskilling, reskilling, and learning as much as I can. But overall, my actual driving force is the fact that God has made me excellent, and so I walk in that excellence. So I need to just keep improving myself to show that that excellence is there.
Hmm. Something I learned from your story is similar to Daniel, and I call it the Daniel kind of excellence. You see why we call you Precious 5.0? You are as excellent as Daniel. We will call you Danuela or so. Now, it's actually the Daniel kind of excellence. Now, we would love to know, in school, challenges go day, e go choke. So it's not possible that you got 5.0 without facing challenges, because challenges are not just there to bring us down, but that they are there to test if we are fit to carry on what we want to carry. So what has been from your experience when you were a student, what has been the biggest challenge you faced in your academic pursuits, and how did you tackle it? We would love to know.
My biggest challenge, to be honest, I wouldn't really say I had like a major challenge as regards my academics. It
Jesus.
was more about balancing the things I had, that, like, all the responsibilities. So improving every area while still having to excel in every single thing, and maintaining relationships as well, like my friendships, because that was also something that happened where, like, I kind of got very busy. Like, I was too busy for everybody. And also, there was also like the emotional part of things. But I think it got better. I was able to clear that out with my friends.
Were you able to clear that out
Yeah.
with your friends in school or when you actually achieved the 5.0?
No, in school, I was able to clear it out with my friends in school. There was just that whole period where, like, my responsibilities were just twice as much, and I just wasn't having as much time as I had for my friends before. So I had to work on that. So the whole time management thing I talk about, like it became necessary to ensure that I retained all my relationships because, like I mentioned, community is important. So you can't just throw people away just because you want to be ambitious and everything, or just because you're ambitious, right? You need to realize that people are also important, and that was just something for me. So I tried, at least I had conversations in that regard. And yeah. So if I'm to sum it up, biggest challenge was just maintaining
Relationship.
relationships and like balancing my entire life, right? But then it got better. Yeah.
The truth is, for 99% of the Nigerian students, our one of the key challenges that we face is actually balancing school life and other responsibilities and also our relationships with people. It's a huge challenge. I don't think that anyone can actually go through this academic pursuit without encountering such a thing if you really want to do well, because there is a major part of your life that you dedicate to studying, and sometimes it gets overwhelming that you tend to disregard some friends for a particular point in time just to achieve what you want. And thank you so much for clearing us out, because I felt like when you started saying that you didn't encounter any challenge, I was like, you say waiting. You say waiting. Okay. Because I wanted to like ask you a question. Are you sure? Okay. Now, what inspired you to pursue the current field of study that you pursued, and how has your passion evolved through your academic journey?
Okay, so I mean, for that one, it's very interesting how I got into my current field of study because I mean, I've always been interested in the sciences from primary, secondary school, right? So I was in the STEM classes and all of that. But I wanted to be in chemical engineering actually because I mean, when you talk with people, they're like, oh, chemical has more applications, you're more diverse, you can be in this place, any place can just employ you and all of that.
I did tell you.
So I actually applied to my university for chemical engineering. But when I got my admission in chemical, but later on, I was told that they had merged the two departments, that's chemical and petroleum engineering. So that was actually how I got to petroleum. So I didn't necessarily get to petroleum because it was my dream course, but I got into it by at this point. I actually just see it as a divine orchestration because the way I now love this course, I don't know.
Ah.
That there's definitely more to it because I mean, I was just there like, oh, chemical, chemical, but now I really just love my course. And I think one other thing that helped in that regard was the society I joined, that Society of Petroleum Engineers. All of the conferences and all of this trainings that I attended really just improved a lot of things for me, my connections, my um, understanding of what the industry was like. And it really improved how I saw it, and it made me just like the course more. So yeah, I didn't get to the course because I liked it, but now I love it. So I think
It's
it's a
just
good ending.
It's just like
it's just
in the Bible in Jeremiah, that's Jeremiah 29:11, when God was telling, who was he telling that? Well, he was actually addressing to us. I know the thoughts I think towards you, thought of good and not of evil, to give you an expected and a wonderful end. As man, sometimes we think that this is what God wants for me, so let me follow this path. But God, out of his wonderful wisdom and everything, his glory and everything, he'll be like, this is not what I want for you. I want you to go this path, but you are going this path. No wahala. I love you so much that I do not want you to make a horrible and dangerous mistake. So sometimes As you're going this path, he will now redirect you to this path that he wants you to go. I believe this is this was your experience. What do you think about it? And now, one question that's been on my mind, that I will love to ask a lot of graduates and great men. School in Nigeria majorly focus heavily on academics, some good schools. So, what do you believe schools can do better to prepare students for life after graduation, just beyond academic learning? Now, from your experience, you've been a graduate for a long time, for a while now. So, what are those things that school should do better to prepare students for life after graduation?
Okay. Um, well, I really believe that the universities need to incorporate more soft skills trainings. Um, I don't know how exactly they might go about it, but the ideas I have are more on things like leadership, things like time management, you know, like a lot of information that you can get when you read books and all. So I don't know how they can encourage something like that, but that's something I really believe that universities can do. Maybe organizing some workshops. I know there are lots of trainings, lots of people that have those types of trainings. I recently got involved in doing those types of things, goal sets, talking about goal setting, time management and things like that. Because I realized that while like the school is focused on you wanting to pass your exams, but there's some other things that you need to know, the mindset to have to do certain things,
Very, very
knowing
important.
that you're not just defined by the grades you have and things like that. There's just a lot more to it, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, still concerning the academics though, I feel like we need to incorporate a more practical approach to a lot of subjects, the courses that we take. I just believe that we will be more effective. Like people will be more prepared to take on the job market. Like they will be more prepared to take on roles because they've actually done some things. There's some more hands-on experiments, making students see the concept they learn about actually play out in the real world. Like, let it be that we've been able to make that connection between the theory and the
And
practical.
practical.
I think that's something that can really help because I remember in school, I had a lecturer who was working on the field like concurrently. So when he travels, when he comes back, he would teach us and everything. So the way he taught was entirely different from every other person because he had lived through that. So he could connect those concepts and just make it easier for us to understand. And then you could actually see real world applications, which broadens your perspective. So it's when you truly understand something that you can actually now think of ways to improve that thing.
That thing, yeah.
And what the world wants, right? Everyone's talking about solution providers. How can you provide a solution when you don't even know that there's a problem, or you don't even understand the
The
problem
problem, yeah.
that's there, or you don't even see anything wrong with what already exists? So I feel like being able to ensure that people really understand what is already there so that they can know how best they can improve and work on it. I think that's something that can help. Um, so I also mentioned leadership trainings, just let people know that there's more. Like it can just be like some course by the side, communication, teamwork. There's just some things that are necessary because you need those skills, negotiation, of course, while you go through school, you'll be tested with different things that will make you try out these skills. But when you actually have like trainings that would put those things to the test, it's also something that helps to build that. So I just feel like we need to move and make people more rounded, educate the total man. Let it not just be about that particular field, but other relational skills that people would need in life because those are things that would also help people.
Okay.
Okay, assuming, or should I use the word imagine, you were given a golden opportunity to stand before all Nigerian students, and you were given 2 minutes to deliver a speech from your experience. You've been a graduate for a while now, so What will you tell us? Just for 2 minutes. What will you tell
Okay,
us?
I think it'll be pretty simple. I remember during my speech, I said something. I said, the equation that made me who I am is God plus hard work, right? God plus hard work equals precious.
Yeah.
So hold on to God and put in your best effort. Don't substitute the grace of God to be lazy. Paul said something in First Corinthians. He says, the grace of God was upon me, but that grace was not in vain. I labored more abundantly than they all. So he was intentional about it. He put in the work, working with the grace that was already on him. So that's my advice. Recognize the grace on your life and work with it, and you'll be unstoppable. Have and one other thing is mindset, right? So in the end, the mindset thing is still tied to God because for me, I'm a Christian, so as a Christian, it influences my mind, so like my
Mindset is
identity.
everything.
I see myself through the lens of Christ and what He has said about me. So that influences my mindset. Nothing is impossible to me because I'm in Christ. So hold on to God, understand His ways. Don't just use Him for the things that He can give, but recognize who He is and everything, and He'll influence you. And then you work hard based on things that He tells you, and you'll be unstoppable. So yeah,
Wow, wow. Thank
that's
you
it.
so much for your time, for bringing out your precious time. Remember your
I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned one or two things that will help you in your school, in your academics. Please let me know in the comment section below what do you think about this podcast and what kind of conversations would you like us to have in the future. Remember, the journey to academic excellence and self-improvement is a shared one. So please don't forget to share this episode with all your classmates so that we will aspire each other to strive for greatness. Don't forget, you are capable of achieving more than you think. This is the Nigerian Student Podcast. I'm Maxwell, and we will see you next week.